Mm. Okay, so we started with our React app when we made a basic header, and after that we imported it. So now we will see how we can add our classes in our React app. So for that, let's go to this app.js or app.css, and let's see if you want to add some styling, then you can. Let's suppose I want to change the background color of this heading. So here, instead of class, we have to give class name. So we don't write class in React, we write class name. The class is written in HTML. So here we write class name, and after that we can give any of the name that we want. I will say it heading. And in the app.css, since it's a class, we will access it using the dot. And I will give a background color, let's say aqua. And now to connect it, first of all, I have to uh, export this, which means I have to import the app.css. For that, we will write import and see what's the path of this. So since the app.jsx and app.css are in the same level, so we can directly write uh, app.css. Now we will be able to import the app.css. Let's see if we are able to. Okay, so this is how we can add the styling to our React app using the basic CSS. But as I said earlier, I am not going to do this basic CSS. We will start with the tailwind. So for now, I can remove this. So nothing shows right now. So if we open the, actually you guys can also set up this along with me. Open a new tab and you can write Tailwind CS, Tailwind in wheat, and install Tailwind CSS with wheat. Okay, so you have to copy this part. Okay, so copy this from here, and then in your terminal, so in the terminal, paste that and then press enter. Okay, so we are done with the first step. We have to copy this part, then paste it, and then press enter. And now you can see after it is successfully added. This new file is added, which is tailwind config.js. Now here, basically the configuration that we want to add to our tailwind. So we will add here. Now the next step is to go to this tailwind config.js, same file which is opened here. And then inside the content part, like inside this content, inside this bracket, we have to add this. Inside this bracket, we have to add this line. then paste it, and then save it as well. And after that, go to your index.css and then copy these three lines. You can directly copy from here, index.css, and I will copy it, paste it, and save. Okay, so these three are the steps
यार
that we
वो
need.
होता क्या है यार प्यारे? अरे
Gopi
अरे
Yadav, who's, yeah, please mute
ये
yourself.
आपका प्यारे होता
Okay, so follow these three steps. And after running it, just again run your application. Okay, so we will run it again. I'll just refresh it here. Okay, so you can see this is the basic. mm, So I will cross all the extra things. So this is our application looks right now. So basically, the basic Tailwind actually removes the styling that which is the default styling which is offered by the browser. Now it looks like this. Now, if we want to add our own styling, let's see how we can do this. Let's go to components, or let's. Okay, so on the left side, when we scroll down, you can see all of the things, which is the CSS part. You can see spacing, margin, padding, and right now here it is background color. So in the normal CSS, we can see how we used to give the background color. We used to write the background color, and after that we give the value of that. And but here, what we have to write is this thing. So we will replace this all with this. For example, if I want this type of color, then I will write BG and then gray and then the shade of gray. If it is 900, then it is the darkest. Like 950 is the darkest and 50 is the lightest shade. You can see. So here we can access like different colors. Only we need to change the color and the shade. So this is how we change the color in CSS. And let's go to the padding, let's say. So this is how we used to write the padding in normal CSS. Let's say padding is 0 pixel, but here you can directly write P and then dash 0. And similarly, padding right PR1 and padding bottom PB1 and padding left. So if you are confused anytime, you can directly go to this documentation. You will find the things that how we can convert it to Tailwind. Let's go to text color. So text color, we have to write it like this. Text, then color name, and then the shade. Similarly, text, uh, border radius, rounded. The border radius is 0 pixel in normal CSS. Here we can write rounded, none. And SM here means small, and MD is medium, LG is large, XL is, XL, double XL, triple XL, and full is like fully rounded. So this is the value that you will learn automatically when you will use it a lot. Let's see how we can add this. Yeah. So what first I said that if I want to give the background color, what we learned was here we can directly write BG and then the name of the color, let's say red, and then the shade. You can see this automatically comes here. Okay, so this is how it looks. If I try to increase it, become dark. I want to change the text color. Text is, let's say, white. Now text is white. And if you want to increase the size of the font, you can write text, let's say double XL, 2XL. So this will increase the size of the font as well. And I think I have also installed some extensions so that I will get this hints that I am able to get. Let's say rounded. You can see all of these hints that I am getting. I think I've installed some extension right here. Now the border is rounded. So for now, I will remove it and see the extension. Hmm. Yeah. So you can install this extension, which is Tailwind CSS Intelligence. So this will give you the hints. Tailwind CSS Intelligence by Tailwind Labs. Now, when we installed when we set up our wait project yesterday, you saw there was a basic counter application which increases and decreases the counter. So let's see how we can do it in React. So first of all, I will remove this. I will need basically two buttons. Hmm, okay, let's write it count is 0 by default. And then two buttons. First button, let's say it is +1, which increases the counter. And second button is -1. So this is how it looks. It doesn't even look like a button. So let's stylize it a little bit. So first of all, I will wrap this button inside a div so that I can use flex. Okay, I don't think I need to use it here. Class name. Okay, I will keep border. Mm. Okay, so border is black, but I'm not able to see the border because first we have to activate our border. Let's say border width, I have to give a border. So border, by using border, I will be able to give this border width, which is 1 pixel. And you can see when I hover on this, in the normal CSS form, it looks like this. Now, border is coming over this button. Similarly, I'll copy this and paste it here. And I will also give the padding from the x-axis, which means left and right. Let's say 3. And from the y-axis, I want to give the padding is 2. Okay, so this is how it looks. And I will wrap all of this in one. So right now, if I want, I will try to make it at a center. So I will write flex, which will display flex. The flex direction is column. No, flex direction is row by default, but I want to make it column. So we can write here flex col. So which turn the flex direction to column. And after that, I want to align it at the center. So you can see this is how it looks. This will come at the center, and I will change the, let's say 2 XL, say 5 XL. I will write font is semi bold, or I can write font is light. Now it is lighter. Text blue. Okay, so this is the basic. What I want to do now is when I click on the plus, this should increase, and when I click on minus, this should decrease the value of the. So let's see how we can do it using normal. Let's see how a normal person will approach this problem who is new to React. So there is event handlers, as you know. So when we click on +1, we can write here on click. There's a on click event handler, which when we click on it, then the function will be called. So first of all, let's make two functions and let's make a count value 0. And I will replace here. And if you want to write something in the React, which is let's say a variable, you can't write here directly because this will directly display count here, right? So you can't access the variable directly here. You have to actually wrap it in curly braces, and you can see count will be now 0 because it took this value. Now what I want to do is, let's say function add, and when we click on add, let's say when the function is called, then the count value should be count +1. And similarly, we'll make another function is subtract. When we click on or when we call this function, the value of count should be decreased by 1. And yeah, let's see how we can call this function. So in the JavaScript, like in DOM manipulation, we used to create a event handler and then add a value when we click on it. And when we click on it, we something was like something happened. But let's say a function is called. So here, what I want to do is when I click on it, I want to call the function. So how we can do it is you can write here on click. You can see it automatically comes here. So on click. So when the on click is called, then the function should be called. And similarly, on click will be here as well. Okay, so let's call this function. And one more thing, which I will tell now. So how we used to call the function earlier, let's say we used to write it like this. And right. So actually, in the further classes, I will explain like why this should not be written like that. But for right now, I can explain that when we actually write the brackets when calling the function, then that function is called automatically when the DOM is rendered. But I want this function only should be called when the button is clicked. But when we write the brackets, this function gets called automatically. So to avoid that, we actually remove this bracket, and now this function will only be called when we click on this button. Okay, so that's why we remove this bracket in this case. So let's see what our code actually does is we actually made two functions and a variable, and that variable value is written in our heading. It's coming here. And after that, we made two buttons. We add the event handler, and on click, when we click on the add button, uh, this should run. When we click on subtract button, this should run. And after that, the value of this should change. And also let's console log this so that I can explain better. So if I okay, go to inspect, yeah. So let's see what will happen. Okay, so you can see there is no changes here, but actually this is printed here one because of this statement, this line. And if I click on it again, 2, 3, 4, and if I click -3, next should be 2, 1, 0, -1. Also, you can see our event handlers are working fine. Like this is working fine. We are able to change the variable, but we are not able to reflect our changes here. So why it is so? Because this is how React works. So there's something called hooks in React. So hooks are basically the function which allow us to use the features of the React. And one of like there are many hooks in React, and one of the hooks that we are going to cover today is useState hook. Let's write here. I will write, let's say, topic or txt. So this is the first major thing that we are going to do. Earlier we did, let's say, Tailwind setup, then React.js. Now we will go with use state hook. So let's understand it, what it actually is. So use state hook actually allow us to add a state. So state is something which can actually change in the future, and when we want to show it in our UI. So let's see. So actually this part is actually having a state because this can be changed in the future. And also we want to show it, or we can say render it in the UI. Otherwise, if we only wanted a count variable, let's say I don't want to show it, the variable was working very fine. Like you can say it was changing when we click on inspect, the variable changes. So for that case, we can use this direct variable. But if I want something so that it should show, which is displayed on our UI, and it should change every time it gets updated. So we have to create a use state variable. So let's understand how we do this. Mm, okay. So for now, forget about all this code. I will come directly here, or let's make it after the count. Yeah. So if we want to use the use state, first of all, we have to import it. Use state. You can see it automatically comes. So first of all, we have to import this hook, and after that, to use it, first of all, let's see what it actually is. So use state, how to use it is, if I let's say console log this, and inside this function we will add a value, let's say 10, right? Just only focus on this line. I actually mm, console log, let print this statement, and then inside we actually expect some value. I'll explain why. Now we'll go to the, okay, so when I refresh, you can see this is what I get, which says 10, 10 comma F. Now what is this 10 and what is this F? Let's understand. So what we are getting is 10 comma F. So here 10 is initial value, and here F is a function to change this value. Okay, again I'm telling 10 is the initial value, and F is a function so that we can change this value. Okay, so here I expand. The same thing is shown here. There is 0, which is initial value is 10, and on the next number one, there is a function. So let's see how we can access it or how we can use it.
किधर
So
और
let's,
आगे चलो थोड़ा सा चलाओ यार धीरे धीरे लगता है
okay, so now what we have to do is cons. So we will write in the same format which is written here. So first of all, let's say the value, right? We wrote here count, right? So I will comment out it. I will write here count, and I will write here something like set count. So this is basically the name convention which is actually followed by the developers. We usually you can write any name here of the function, but for so that other developers can also get to know what is actually written is, we actually follow the name convention. If we write the name of the variable here, then we it is the function to change the value. So we write here set, and then the same variable name should come here. This is basically the convention that should be followed. And after that, it is written use state. Okay, so what is this? So this is basically the destructuring concept that we did in JavaScript, right? So this is basically destructure. So what is this actually returning was? Like what was this printing was this, right? So the value of 10 will go to this, and set count is a function to change the value of count. So how, which one now, what does it means that count is now value of count is 10, and how we use set count is we call set count, and inside the bracket we give that value that we want to change. I want to set it to 20. Okay, so this is how we forget about everything now. You can just keep it here just for your use. But this is a basic template. First of all, the name of the variable, and then the name of the function, and then use state is called. We have to give some value. It depends on us. If I give here 0, it will be set to 0. It will be set to 10. And after this, the value of count will be 10. And if we want to change the value of count, we will call it inside the function, which is set count. Okay, so I will remove this as well and this as well. So first of all, initially what our value actually is. So you can see the earlier count value is here, and count value is automatically set to 10. That's why it's showing that change here. And if I want to, uh, so first of all, the value of this should be 0, because initially I want to keep it 0. So I will write here 0, it will change to 0. And what I told earlier was, but if I want to change the value of count, you have to write set count. You have to call this function, and then inside it, we have to give that value to whom this value will change. So this value will be changed to count plus 1. And you can see the similar did we thing we did earlier. Now we will replace this by this. We don't need this. And similarly, we don't need this as well. We can directly write set count and then count minus 1. I will remove this. So I think now everything should work fine, because now we have made this according to, like, in React, this is how we actually manage the state if you want to show it in our UI. Let's see. Okay, so you can see it is actually changing. So the same function is called in our console as well. So anyone who did it till here? Okay, so when we refresh it, then our page loads again, and then after that it will again reset to 0. Right? If I refresh it, a variable is again loaded, then it will reset to 0. But there are methods so that we can save our state. Let's suppose if I refresh it and it should remain 5 here, which we will cover afterwards. But right now, any doubts, anyone? Okay, use state hook is actually done here. Okay. Okay, so I'll wrap up the today's class here. Okay, wait, I will send the attendance form.